This is Hard Talk Power 102 Digital Tuesday. Today we are having a chat with Aquil Arindal of the San City Steel Symphony of Carib Street in San Fernando, Trinidad. And I've invited to co-host with me, Fareed Ali. Good afternoon, Fareed. How are you doing, my brother?
Very, very pleasant good afternoon to you, David. It's a wonderful afternoon. It isn't too hot, it isn't raining too much out there.
Oh,
So
well.
hopefully our listening public is in the right mood.
But it's been raining cats and dog in Port. It's cleared up a little bit. Good afternoon, Akil. Nice to see you.
Good afternoon. The weather is kind of okay on my side, light showers scattered. It is such a pleasure to be among you esteemed gentlemen. Good afternoon to Power 102, right? And the listenership, the family of Power 102 internationally and locally.
Nice. Fareed.
Akil, it's a pleasure to have you here. You are no stranger to music and the steel band industry. You were a previous serving member on the Panchonrigo board prior to this current dispensation. So you have history and antecedents in the steel band movement. It is by no guess that we have you here this afternoon. I have been, lucky to been present at Skiffle Panyard some months ago, and I heard San City perform. And it was the first time that I actually experienced the band and experienced the music. To be quite frank with you, I mean, I have no reason to be spinning things in any particular direction. I have nothing to gain from that sort of thing. But I remember David was at my side, and I asked him, "Who's this band?" He said, "This is San City." I said, "Who?" I told him that, to be quite frank, that was the highlight of my evening. And the bands that were there were Fonclair, Skiffle, and I believe it was Sipare, if I'm correct. You can correct me.
No, it was Point 14. It was
Tornadoes.
It was Tornadoes from Point 14.
Right.
No,
I was saying that
finish.
I was saying that not to say that the other bands were bad. It's just that you all with one of the lesser profiles in comparison to those bigger band names. You all stood out. So I'm actually complimenting the other bands in terms of they were able to create a forum where a band like yourself could express itself, and that is something we need to see more of. So we hear of the Fonclairs, Skiffle, we hear of Desperados and Renegades, but very seldom do we go to these Spaniards and get an opportunity to hear, for them to showcase other bands. And this sort of brotherhood within the steel band industry is important. It's the only way that the culture of steel band music and steel pan music could evolve. But anyway, the listenership today, this afternoon, we have no other than Mr. Aquil Arindal. He is, if not the face of, but the leadership of San City Steel Orchestra. And he's going to take us through the paces this evening in terms of a journey through his band. And we're going to be asking him some questions in terms of his views on the evolution of the steel band movement in San Fernando generally, from his perspective. It doesn't mean to say what he's saying is the Bible truth, but he has a perspective, and that's what we're about here. So welcome, Aquil. Tell us something about San City. If you could nail down San City's conception, right, in terms of a year or a period in terms of time, when would you say that San City came to fruition?
Right. So based on the elders, San City came into being when San Fernando became a city, right? So that would be from 1989 to 1990. So we generally use the 1990 year. Then Itimu and a lot of this discussion would be surrounding leadership. The then Itimu, in his vision and his leadership, would have been the CEO of San Fernando City Corporation, and he had some sort of corporate philosophy in terms of having a happy workplace, and based on that, you would get more productivity now. I'm guessing based on what I see now in San Fernando City Corporation, because I'm still there. There's always this this separation between daily paid, monthly paid, who working in plumbing, who working in this, who working in that, and I think that his efforts to bridge that would have used sports and culture to do so, because we know that is one of the most unifying, or two of the most unifying thing that could bring a nation or bring a country together. It could also do so in any corporate setting. So based on his initiative, we would have had San Fernando City Corporation would have had a choir, and I say we at that time, my age probably would have been 12, 10, somewhere around there. So, but out of that would have had like choir, football team, cricket team, other things that they had happening that bringing the workers together to have a change in atmosphere among the workers. And San City would have been one of that element, and would have been the only element that survived from 1990 to now in San Fernando City Corporation, because pan people just don't give up now.
Yeah. When you all started, let's say you're saying you're pinpointing it to just around 1990 and thereabout. You would have had a core goal, a core initiative. Where is the band now in terms of its growth and development? And let me be a little more specific.
I have two questions, So,
yeah.
So I don't know if you want me to do the first one and then the second one, or yeah.
Let's do that now. Let's do that now. The first one and then the second one.
Right, good. So because of my age, I wouldn't have known what are the elders, or they haven't at no point in time really what are the elders thinking at that time, other than the objectives set out by the then CU, which is bringing the corporation together, right? But the elders in the band, I would guess the vision would have been, to have a successful steel band gigging here, there, probably even having some tours, that kind of thing. And that would have been what are their objectives then. I am happy to say, based on good leadership from then till now, we have been functioning for 30 years and we never stopped. The only period of time that I know San City was not practicing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays during the COVID. Okay. This is 30 years. This is not like other steel bands where it had some point in time lapse, and let me knock on wood to make sure that didn't happen. Some point in time it have a lapse and it revived and so on. This is 30 years of constantly sharpening our skills, not only as musicians, but as leaders, as community people, as that kind of thing. I guess under my leadership, we have streamlined more into what are the goals or what we would like to achieve, and it's very different from other steel bands, and hence the reason why we are successful at what we do. On a continuous basis. Our goals and objective is to empower our nation youths and our nation citizens through the power of the national instrument. Not necessarily about winning a competition or being the best band of the night or so on and so on. All of that would fall into place once we strive for the overall goal to making persons the best person, every individual the best person that they can be through the power of the national instrument.
What are some of the things you all have done to keep the community relationship within the band alive? You being part of the leadership.
Right.
The face of the leadership. What have you been? What are some of the initiatives that you would have engaged in order to keep the spirit of the band alive and keep the camaraderie between the players? Because a lot of you mentioned that sometimes bands have to revive itself, or they find themselves in a position where they're trying to get things going again. You've managed to sustain life in Sun City for this period of time. What are some of the things you've been able to do and to create that sort of togetherness and brotherhood and sisterhood and solidarity between and among members?
Right. So there's the easy answers to that, and there's the more complex answer to that as well, right? Making sure that we socialize outside the panyard, go on little retreats, that kind of thing. Making sure that we have places to play on a regular, you know. We go here, there, the other. But I think that what really sustains Sun City and persons staying enthusiastic is the vision. Persons must share in the vision. Persons must share the responsibility of the vision and understand where we at now and where we're looking to go in 10 years' time or this year. And they must feel that if I'm not there, we wouldn't reach there. So they're continuously wanting to be there to see and realize that vision come to a reality. And a lot of the things that keeps people around too is our I don't want to use the word ability, is not the word I'm looking for, but our initiative to see about our own in an individual level. Hey, what's going on with you? You working? Why you not working? Where you have? What subjects you have? If you don't have subjects, where's the trade? So we want to make sure that the individual's well-being is taken care of in Sun City. And once persons feel that their leader or their leadership is about them and not about the leader, they are inclined to stay and be a part of that vision.
In San Fernando, where you all at, and I'm saying that from a different perspective. What I'd like to know is what the relationship between and among the executives of various steel bands are like. And I'm just calling names, right? Let us say Fonclair, Hatters, Skiffle, perhaps even we go to as far as the Siparia Deltones. Is there a relationship between and among executives where you all share ideas? So the same vision that you have, you know, you share it with Fonclair, share it with Skiffle, share it with Siparia Deltones, and you all exchange ideas. Is that sort of camaraderie, that sort of relationship, does that exist, or San Fernando tends to be a little more divided?
I think it exists in some places more than some. And it's a coincidence that you asked that question, because this year in particular, we formed a Southern Steel Band group, right? WhatsApp, so on and so on, where we share our ideas, share our, not only ideas, but share our troubles as well, and see how we can help each other. It's kind of dormant now because everybody focusing on the panorama and so on and so on and so on. But as soon as the panorama settle and the dust clear, we'll go back into the real issues. And I say real issues because panorama is a big distraction. It may be one of the causes why steel bands haven't been as successful as they should be, because a lot of time and focus goes into a competition that don't really bear fruit financially and otherwise. You know, but to even be more specific, I have like a lot of the ideologies and things that I walk around and hold. I get it from Akinola Sinan, which is a Siparia Deltones. Mr. Junior Regrello, who is Skipper Bunch leader, would hear on many occasions, I would have publicly say that when I was the age of 14, 15, I looked at Mr. Junior Grigello and tell him, when I grow up, I want to be like you. And that wanting to be like you is having a career in steel pan. I don't want to work as nothing else. I want to be a steel pan leader. I want to make my living off a steel pan. And that is the kind of relationship Mr. Grigello and I had and share as one of my mentors coming up in the steel band fraternity. But a lot of the band leaders speaks to me. Even before I come here, one of the band leaders, Aquil, where is your thoughts on so this happening with thoughts? And we have that discussion a lot, at least between myself and a lot of the bands. How the traffic going between the bands and the other bands, I would guess some bands would gravitate to some other bands because of whatever commonality they may have. But that is as far as I could answer in terms of what goes on outside my circle.
Right. You all are essentially, you all compete for Panorama at the medium band level. Are the bands in South, or do the bands in South, meaning the medium bands, when they're not in competition, share their players? Or do you as San City share your players with other large bands? Do your players go out and play with large bands to get a different experience, a different take?
Yeah. So my band players are allowed to play with whichever band they feel to play with once it's not during my practice time. So once my practice time going on, you can play with whoever you want. The only exception to that rule is if they go to a particular band and that particular band say, hey, we're not allowing our players to come up by San City at all because we don't want. So I am a kind of mirror person. If wherever you give me, I give you back. So that means that you have some sort of problem with your players coming up by us, my players would then not allowed to be down here. But outside of that, which rarely happens, outside of that, they are allowed to play with any band they feel like. I can't talk for the other bands because very rarely I see players from different bands coming to my band to give us support, which is not a problem because we are not lacking. We have never been lacking. It's 30 years of continuously training people and we have never been lacking as per se. But we do bring it up when bands come to us and say, hey, we need to, I say, but a little support, one hand will clap. So we do bring it to their attention that we are aware that you're not supporting on your side now. Sometimes a lot of people in terms of my personality, they like, but a lot of people don't like because I straight hard talk. So I tell you as it is. It does not wonder what Aquil thinking. I tell you as it is. So basically sharing players, I would say that for us, we do that. I have a particular relationship with one of the bands in San Fernando, and we share players, we share ideas and that kind of thing. So, and I try to expand that circle as much as possible, but people have to be willing to be equal with it now. A lot of the times I find that band leaders, they're trying to get more out of the relationship than trying to equalize the relationship. And that's a thing that has been keeping us back because again, selfishness and egos and so on and so on and so on.
But I agree with you, but sometimes friction is important. So what you're describing there is not an unhealthy thing. It's good. It's good to say that you're direct with them and letting them know how you feel and what the observations are. So at least they get an opportunity to correct you wrong. They can't say that they didn't know.
Yeah. Well, I say so, but some people don't think so. So, but to each his own. How people feel about me, it don't really faze me in any way because again, I am who I am. Is either I like me or I don't like me in terms of where I'm coming from.
Some stakeholders in the steel band industry sometimes make comments that the introduction of small, medium, and large band, or all these various categories. It's a huge distraction. I'm saying that born out of you indicated just now. Sometimes Panorama itself is a distraction because the band has a more global objective. And when you have to stop and prepare for a festival or prepare for Panorama, it distracts the band. It turns the band in a different direction until the Panorama season is over.
Right.
How do you see, what's your interpretation of all these various categories? Do you think that the categories dilute the art form, or it actually creates a forum where there could be development, meaning bands could aspire from small to medium to large? What's your view on that?
So
that formatting?
we'd have to go back to the root of why that came to be, right? And a lot of the times people will be analyzing without even going to the foundation. And I believe it was under Patrick Anna, in his vision and in his leadership, he would have wanted to create an opportunity for bands who would not have had that opportunity to even make a semis or make a finals or the other, because there was and there still is a top 6 bands that are always on top, right? That also was creating some sort of stagnant form of entertainment where you could sit down here and say, well, this band going to come first, or this band, these are the 6 bands, and it would have been, it started to become boring. That is number one. And number two, there's also that economical factor whereas it's only 1 band or 2 band or 3 band getting money all the time. So that means that all the bands in Trinidad not getting that equal opportunity to get that funds to develop themselves. So in their best knowledge and wisdom, they would have separated the categories. Hey, you can be small, you can be medium, you can be large, based on how far you can go or how far you can carry yourself, right? I have moved from small to medium, and it wasn't an easy move financially. Even players-wise, it wasn't an easy move, but financially more than anything else, because it would have cost the band at least $70,000 or $80,000 to make the move up. So from small to large, I am guessing it would cost a band, if they move out the medium category, I'm guessing it would cost the band probably about $150,000, $250,000 plus. So I myself is a beneficiary of having that step, that smaller step, to ultimately reach to the category that I would want to reach to, or large, that kind of thing, at some point in time. So because I know it and because I feel it, I would say that it is a good thing, because it done well for me. It have been successful for me so far. What I think that happens is that it's still not well thought out in terms of how can we make small a proper show, how can we make medium a proper show, and how can we make large a proper show. And Panchimigo would be talking about or trying to sell the bands going to Tobago for medium category some sort of success. But I don't know what mathematical book they're using, but I can't see 10 bands with bands, players, and so on and so on and so on, leaving Trinidad, going to Tobago, hotel accommodation, food, so on and so on and so on and so on. And then you making back that money somehow, somewhere now.
Well, let's get there. What sort of, if a band doesn't have a sponsor, right, and it has to make that sort of venture to get to Tobago, where does the band get the money from? Is it that Trinbago subvention or Trinbago's contribution to assist bands bridges the gap sufficiently that you're just down to incidental costs after you get money from Pan Trinbago, or is it that Pan Trinbago money can begin to assist the band in terms of a venture like that?
Let me answer that question, but let me also finish the point, because I don't want to leave that point hanging in terms of what kind of profit the show would make. So yes, there would be some sort of profit by the gate, but when me in particular, when I see things happening around nationally, I don't see 300,000 by the gate opposed to $1 million to carry it across, and I'm just using figures. Yes, Pan Trinbago have a $300,000 extra, but what about the country? Somebody had to have that cost written for the bands to reach across. So the country, the taxpayers, me, you, everybody, would have spent a great amount to get a small amount by the gate, and in some person's mind that is a success. And I don't have a problem in some person's mind is a success, but I think that all of us most of us supposed to have went to school and know what mathematics is. And I keep telling people that when we look at the country money, we must think about Trinidad and Tobago monies as your money personally. Would you spend $20 to make $3? No, you wouldn't do that. So don't look at it as the government give you that money to go across. So because the government money is our money, right? And the question that you just asked, to go to that question, is, just repeat that for me, please.
Well, what I'm looking at is,
I was asking about the
after you get subventions from
Pan Trinbago, right? So
does the band generates enough money on its own to cover the incidental? So whether the Pan Trinbago money can't even begin to assist.
Right. So a lot of the bands would have had discussions among themselves, and even with Pan Trinbago, that they don't want to go back to Tobago because there is an extra $30,000 or $40,000 transportation cost that the bands had to incur. So the bands were $30,000, $40,000, and I think that is a low figure. To me, it's $40,000, $50,000. Even somebody quoted me $60,000 that they had to underwrite out of the prize money, which would have left them at a deficit. And one particular band would have spoke about she's still owing players from last year because of that transport that the band had to take up and Pan Trinbago didn't take up. So that would answer your question in terms of what kind of funds that they have. If it happened in Trinidad, the same funds that they would have gotten when it was in Trinidad is the same funds they get now to be in a finals when they're in Tobago. So there is no extra money to underwrite that cost.
That's a serious statement there. So you're saying that, I mean, you've said it. Basically, wherever you were in terms of the financial assistance from Pan Trinbago, they didn't enhance the package when they increased your costs. So basically, the candle is costing more than the funeral.
For the bands.
Yeah. For
the bands. And I am saying that if the band's supposed to be in charge of Pan Trinbago, the members of the band. And if the members of the band say, hey, this is not working for me, I can't see why it is that is still forced upon that, hey, whether or not you like it, we go in so. But people just get the leadership that they deserve. So
to me, it's a easy solution, you know. If it is we bring the finals back to Trinidad, the majority of the medium bands would have come from Trinidad. So if it is the money you're putting out to bring 3 bands from Tobago, if it's 3 bands or 2 bands, right? If the money Pan Trinbago will have to assist with the Tobago bands to have them in Trinidad, it will cost Pan Trinbago less, it will cost the taxpayer less to have the finals here and to bring across 3 bands and to bring 15 bands from Trinidad to Tobago. They could be looking at it from in terms of the linkages. Sometimes reason escapes us. I'm not the voice of Mandarin Bigo, I can't say. But I'm just thinking I could anticipate the response and the answer. They may very well tell you that you're lifting the Tobago economy. The hotels would benefit, the sales would benefit in terms of bars, in terms of food. But at the end of the day, you have bands in Trinidad now that are in the red. They may be venturing into Carnival 2024 with debts from 2022 and 23.
Yeah, there are bands who are venturing into 2024 with debts from last year. And yes, the reasoning and the rationale is good, but it must not be at the detrimental of the performer. And it's like what you and I would have discussed in terms of when a steel band asks Sun City to come and play by them, I have no problem that it's for free. But it mustn't cost me to be a part of your show. So the trucks, the refreshments, the whatever, you have to make sure that is covered. So I don't have to pull out of my pocket to make sure that your show is successful. And I guess the band's not opposed to going to Tobago. We just want to make sure that we not coming out of our pockets to make sure that your show is successful.
It's quite fine for us to have the discussion at this level here on air. My question to you is simply this. Is there a forum within the executive or the policies of the executive of Bantry and Tobago where the bands have a post-mortem at the end of the season or at the end of the festivals or the end of the competitions where you're invited to say how you feel about things and how it was done and give some input as to what you think should be done for future purposes to improve? In other words, have the dialogue, have the conversation, and have some sort of consensus of opinion. So for 2024, at least the executive will know this is where the bands stood last year. This is how they felt. We want to do tweak things a little differently, make sure that everybody happy. Is there a forum for that sort of intercourse?
Yeah. And for the medium in particular, that happened last month.
Okay.
So from last year to last month, there were medium band discussion. And based on that discussion, persons would have now 3 months away from Panorama would now have the opportunity to say in that forum what they don't like or what they like. At the regional level, and I can speak in South in particular, immediately after the Carnival, the medium bands who went to the finals said that they don't want to go back, and the experience was not a good experience for them. And that happened immediately out of the Carnival. I don't know if from the South Central, if that message went up to the Central Executive, and they take any consideration to that. But it is what it is. So that may answer your question in terms of where that is in particular.
Has there been a conclusion to that discussion? Meaning, are we looking at the possibility of having to go medium band finals in Tobago again, or?
Yeah, I believe, and I wasn't there, and absent in meetings these days because, in my opinion, we are now going meetings to be told what to do now, and I have a serious problem with that. Decisions are being made, and whatever you say or not say, the decision is already made for bands to go back to Tobago. So the medium bands would have seen on some NCC brochure that the venue for the medium band category is in Tobago. And then who complained after and who hold meeting after. And so that was just talk, and then they reached the meeting and it's back to Tobago, whoever like it, whoever ain't like it, and that kind of thing. So I just roll in with the punches.
You see, my position is this, right? From what you're describing, that sort of management where decisions are being made and conclusions and directives are given without proper consensus. Because and forgive me for making the judgment, because I'm saying without proper consensus, because it's okay to be able to voice your view, but if it is those that are in authority making decisions aren't mindful of what it takes to manage a band and to get a band to Tobago, and consider what the overhead costs are. And given the fact that they're not mindful that the bands are in debt from previous years, then things that ought to be put in place to ensure that we don't have a band slipping into such levels of indebtedness that they can't function, they can't present itself for another season, and then you end up with a shortage of bands. So whether you have a complement of, I'm just calling a number, but 15 medium bands in 2023, you might find only have 10 active ones in 24, because everybody has the next 5 bands buried in debt.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I hope the powers that be hearing, and again, as I said before, people like me and they don't like me because I talk my mind. I doesn't put what in my mouth to say what I need to say. So, but what needs to be said needs to be said. And I hope that the persons who have the power to make the decisions and the changes deal with these situations with a little more care for their membership. You know, with a little more decorum.
Let's go into another area.
Before you continue, I would like you guys to know, and the people who are listening to know, that some messages are coming into the studio. There's a Ronaldo musician, DePisa. He said things like these happen every year. There's a Michael Oliveri, so he's also watching. And the musician DePisa also said taxpayers are also paying these people elected into office, blatantly showing their membership and country that they do not care. We also have a Diana Benskin, and she's asking that you speak, my brother. We have a Gregory Lindsay. I support everything that has been said here. I ask no questions and I will tell no lies. Aquila Rindel, aka Akiba, Panman Joseph, Ronaldo the musician, DePisa, Andy A. Niels, James Pan Foster. This is what real talk looks like. So that's some of the messages coming in. I thought I'd just let you guys know how people are responding to.
And most of those guys are persons who are involved in the panorama. Those persons that you call have bands, those persons that you call are in meetings and expressing concerns. And, you know, always hard talk are being very reserved. Reserved on how the picture is in my mind, because we come to discuss San City now, but it just shifts. So, you know, but you ask the questions and I would give it as it is. I can't sugarcoat it and to tell it as it is.
Your band, San City, naturally.
Now, before you go on, there's a high level as well of perceived victimization that goes on for people who speak there. So my band in particular, always on that listener and the perception. Let me just use the word perception. Always on that list, always on that. But because my objectives is not everybody else's objectives, there's not really no fear from me of victimization. My objectives is, again, to make sure that the individuals in my band, to empower my individuals in my band through the power of the national instrument. So there is no amount of victimization can stop that from happening. I am in control of my objectives. So a lot of the bands and them really doesn't speak out because of the perception of victimization. And I'm using the word perception because yes, I have court closed, but I just being careful.
No, I appreciate what you're saying. My question is this. When I talk to people within the industry, the steel pan industry, the steel band industry, it's often said when you talk to the executive members that people don't know how much effort, energy, finances, resources, how much of your executive sanity goes into ensuring that the band stay afloat and stay viable. It's easy to take something for granted. You know, you see something happening and you drive past, you observe, but you don't know the effort it's taking to have the product that everybody witnesses.
I think that part of that statement is false because the executive members key is managers of bands, so they know what we are going through, and that even makes it worse to know what we are going through and not be mindful or not be supportive or so on and so on and so on. So it would have been good if they didn't know and they operating through ignorance, but they're not operating through ignorance.
You know, yeah, I've been taught in management that a position held by an individual is really based on where they sit on the management team. So when it is you're in management, you know, you don't remember where you came from. And when you're in the trenches, you look up to management. So there's a disconnect between when you're a manager and when you're a laborer. The man who's sitting in the trenches, mud in between his toes, he's sweating, he's perspiring, his clothes dirty, but upon the time he put on that suit, that was a part of his past, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to understand that when people enter executive office and they're in an air-conditioned room with a reclining chair and the minister calling you now, it's a different person. That transforms you from where you came from and you know somebody else.
And yes, and I also want to disagree with the sentiment that power changed people. I disagree with that. Power reveals who you are. You was that all the time. It's just that they didn't have the power to execute it now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was that. So if it's a kind person, if it's a person who shares, you get money, you get more, that magnifies. You give more, you share more, you be more generous, you be more human. A person who is greedy, angry, so on and so on, you're consumed with greed now. You're consumed with power trip. So people keep telling me, boy, they changed with power, and I say, no, they didn't change. They just had the power to show who they are.
So let's get to the next part, Akil.
All right, let me share this message first, and then we continue.
Yeah.
Gregory Lindsay, $2 million is what the Office of the Chief Secretary, THA, subverts to Trinbago to bring that national medium band finals to Tobago. The gate receipts from that show brings in $300,000 at that show, as against $30,000 for national single pan and small band finals. All right, so yeah, that's his from the governing body. I guess he got that information from,
Yeah, that's from the report.
Nice, good. So I just wanted to share that before we come. Bad Fred.
Pan tuners don't do work for free. In speaking with some of the big bands executive, they say sometimes you have to pay a tuner at least $100,000 to tune your instruments, and then they have to not only tune that $100,000. Remember, through the course of a season, you have to blend your pan. So it's money. It's not small money.
Yeah.
The man with the hammer, if we ever put it that way, is a skilled individual. He just don't come and throw hammer like people throwing waste Juve modern. So the band has an overhead even before the competition starts, before the season starts, and even without competition, there's a cost to have instruments.
Yeah.
Just to have enough instruments is a cost, and then to sustain and keep your instruments blended and at the level it should be is a cost. So you're forever dealing with cost factors. What does San City do in terms of how do you all carry that cost in terms of relationship with tuners, or do you all have your own internal network in terms of tuning?
Well, one of the initiatives that I was hoping to get off the ground before the year finished, and had a lot of prospects. I had a discussion with some to and fro with Mr. Latte from Tiger Tanks, and he was interested in financing a pan tuning course in my pan yard in particular. I hope that God bless him and some sort of additional finance come his way because, you know, it's all about if they make a tiger tanks and so on, they can. So in answering your question, everything Sun City does is training. So this is a need, and we recognize this is a need. So instead of we outsource, we look into train, so we can look within. We had a tuner, my teacher, Mr. Lennox Fortune. He was also the arranger and the principal of the music school at Sun City had 30 years ago. And he was the tuner for the band, right? Of recently, I was forced into being into tuning bands because it is something that I do over 15 years now. I worked on ship as a musician, and when you're out there and your pan go out of tune, you don't want to tune back your pan. You have to find a way and pound that pan until that note get back to the note that you need, right? So I would have started there, and then I would have took some lessons from Sam when he was alive, and just to understand a few things, but never really called myself a tuner. Coming out of the COVID period, a lot of the bands struggled, including Sun City, and the tuning was a cost that was a little too much for us. So I pick up the pans and start a tune. At least correct the notes, bring it back, and then more and more obsessing about it, starting to get the note song better. Until now persons actually bring pans for me to tune. I still wouldn't want to call myself a tuner, but persons recognizing me as somebody who can fix the pan for them to an extent. I've done 1 or 2 bands, and now that I have a fair amount of knowledge, I want to pass that on to the 3-4 youths in my band. So if they could start from age 20, 21, I know in 10 years' time they could be some sort of master tuner. So those are the kind of initiatives we take to make sure our costs, everything in the house, our arranger is in the house, I'm the arranger, and Sun City don't pay me, Sun City will pay me what they want. When the thing done and they check the finances, all right, we have 10 cents remain, we will give Mr. Arundel 2 cents out of that or 3 cents out of that. And it's not a problem. It's not a problem because I teach my youths and my students, Sun City is not the place for you to get fish now. Because I live off a pan, but it's not off a Sun City. Not off a Sun City finances. They teach me how to fish. So everybody on the outside calling for Aquil to do this, calling for Aquil to do this. I can now charge because they didn't teach me anything. They asked for my service. So the same thing with the youths in my band. Whether we go panorama, whether we pay them, we don't pay them, whatever it is, they understand that they inside, they're learning skills, and most of the times, they're learning whatever skill that they're learning from Sun City for free. You know, we pass the knowledge. Up to this weekend, there were 2 boys from in the area, and the grandmother said, Aquil, I ain't seen these boys because it's pressure with me, Aquil. And I'm money. I said, and that is what you had them staying home for? Money? I said, lady, bring them boys, eh? When you have money, you pay. When you don't have money, you don't pay. You understand? The reason why I started to charge is because I found that people taking the lessons for granted now.
Right.
So I would have heard a student say, I learn on my own and I'm watching this fella telling somebody that. You understand?
Yeah.
Because they're seeing that all the knowledge that we impart on them as nothing now. Like, because it didn't have a fee attached to it. So I started to put a $20 fee, a $40 fee, and when they can't pay it, I say, keep coming, you know. But I'll keep billing it now. So you would understand that you owe in the institution Sun City, not Aquil. The institution Sun City you're owing. Don't tell nobody you get this for free because music lessons are cost. The first thing you just have to do is buy an instrument. first thing you have to do is to go in the store and buy a keyboard or buy a guitar before you go to the music teacher. In a panya, you're walking in with your hands swinging. You ain't even buying your sticks. So don't come out learning to play and not be grateful to all the people who sacrifice to make sure that you have an instrument and make sure that you have a tutor to teach you for free. So hence the reason a lot of my players would not even come and talk money talk with me. When they have money, everybody get. When they don't have money, because you getting from the band now. You owe in the band. If it is that I put on a figure, every time you come and I charge this, that, the other, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because somebody doing that for free, you know. Somebody going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in that panyard when they could have been doing something else to advance themselves, whether it's socially, economically, spiritually, somebody sacrificing to make sure that you have that skill. You know? So, and unless you have these conversations continuously with people, they wouldn't understand and appreciate the value. So it's not even about the money in terms of where we form our music class, because we have two programs going on. An informal class where it's free. You just come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and wherever we're doing in the band, we absorb you in, and as you advance, we teach you on the fly now. And then we have a formal class on the Saturday and one day in the week that persons would pay a small fee for. But don't let finance be a problem.
The governing body for the steel band movement in Trinidad and Tobago is Pan Trin Bago. Does Pan Trin Bago, through its policies, through its initiative, provide music education or a forum to train personnel within the bands, the various bands, formally in terms of music, and providing an environment where music education could be imparted so bands could improve themselves individually?
Not that I know of. I am in Pan Trin Bago for the last X amount of years. Like under the last executive, they would have had little small programs happening here, there, but still not even in a sustainable way. I remember being the education officer of Pan Trin Bago under the Diaz regime. I spent 2 years as an education officer and resigned because of my integrity. I said, listen, that was going on there. I don't want to be part of that. But even when the thing was happening and I was learning the thing, I would have gone to the then president and say, listen, I want to do some programs, you know. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do the other. Mm-hmm. And they say, well, actually, we don't have money for that. Which is not a problem. And I am a problem solver. Eh? So what I did then is create I created a book. This book was initially created for Pan Trin Bago, right? It is a music workbook for me to sell the primary schools and so on all over the country, and probably internationally as well, right? The funds from this book was to go back to Pan Trin Bago to make sure when the education officer, who was me at that point in time, or who is whoever, when they go to them and say, listen, I want to do programs, they could draw from the funds from the book. That's how this book come into being. Because of persons again and the greed and the naive thinking, when the book came as a reality, everybody seeing that the book could probably make $1 million and want a piece of something. Somebody who have a friend who we could pull in to have a book, and they don't even understand why I make the book in the first place. The book is not for me to make money. The book is for Pan Trin Bago to make money, so we can have money for the education officer to do such programs as you think talking about.
But in listening to you, it's frightening to think that the governing body for Pan in Trinidad and Tobago doesn't have an active music education program. From what you're describing, one would believe or one would think, just like we have the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Education has responsibilities. They have policies to help enhance and lift the level of tuition amongst all the secondary and primary schools in an effort to enhance the abilities and the skill levels and bring the children of the country to a certain level. So if you're describing that we have a Pan Trinbago with no music education program in place, then the Pan men and the Pan players throughout the country, where are they getting the education? It seems that it's either they learn it by rote, home in their yard, practicing and like a Bertie Marshall, and or they get into a steel band, a community band, or join a band in some way or fashion, associate themselves with a band, and hope that the band has the vision to develop them as players, and I hope that it trickles back to the band. I hope the band benefits in some way developing players.
So I no just remember I said none that I know of, eh? So I haven't come across any. Any they come and say, or they send an email to say, well, listen, there's this, you can send your players to this. So I just say none that I know of. That is number one. And the second point of the community bands and so on and so on and so on is a real. That is how it's supposed to be. But what not happening is the support, because I'm not expecting Pan Trinbago or even the government to have a particular place to go now. The place to go is in the Panyard. So the Panyard, we have to ensure that the Panyards are functioning, and we have to ensure that we have some sort of subventions going to the Panyards to teach music education at our level. Now, I noticed yesterday the single pan results came out, and it had about 40 steel bands in the single pans. And prior to now, the single pans were like about 80. At one point in time, it had about 80 single pans, 70, 80, somewhere around there. So we have a 50% reduction on single pans. Now, some people celebrate that. Some people, and where's Ghost Band and so on and so on. And because we have all of these bands less, there's more money in the pool for the band, the other bands and so on. And I agree with some of those sentiments. But I'm now saying that we now have 40 areas who don't have a steel band functioning, who could be doing proper programs. So what we're supposed to be doing, and we as Pan Trinbago, and when I say Pan Trinbago, I don't talk about Pan Trinbago executive, I say Pan Trinbago, we supposed to be making sure that the persons that we put in charge to see about our business find out why are these bands not functioning, and let's put programs in place, because San City cannot train everybody. San City can only train a certain amount of people. I see one particular band in San Fernando trying to train everybody, which is good if they have the capacity to do so, right? But I know for me, San City can't do that. And I know that to reach people in Moruga and to reach people in Mayaro, we have to look to those bands there and take some of our resources and put there to make sure that they have programs going on. I have been teaching Moruga area for the past 12 years. I've been there as a teacher, now I'm there as a supervisor for the area. And my objective is that when the ministry, and I'm not talking on behalf of the ministry, I'm not wearing that cap right now, right? So I'm not talking about on behalf of the ministry. I'm talking as a layman, talking as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. When the ministry puts out interviews for persons to teach music I want to see persons from Moruga teaching Moruga. I shouldn't be leaving San Fernando to go Moruga to teach music. I want to see more and more. So there's a continuous objective of mine to make sure that there's enough persons, that are taught enough persons, that people can run proper music programs in Moruga without I having to be there. You know? And if we think about, if we take things at this level and understand Panchinbago as a body, an arm, eyes, mouth, ears, so on and so on and so on. And if our bands are the body, because we often refer to the steel band body, if the bands are the body, we can't celebrate when our finger's sick. We can't say, boy, that is a good thing he out, so we don't have to worry about he in the competition, or we get more money for ourselves. We have to find out how can we get this band operational again, because the community is being at the service of the band not being functioning. You know, so those are some of the broader thinkings that I would like to see the persons that I'm in charge to look at the thing at a more holistic, unselfish way, that and in more of a way to benefit Trinidad and Tobago, not benefit Pan or Panman or Panchinbago, but how we benefit in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, let me interject here. I brought you on to tell us about San City. So we've heard a lot of the executive problems and stuff. And I got a lot of messages in the studio, which is very nice, from a lot of people who are saying, Farid, we should invite the Pan Trinbago president to the program. So let's find out more about San City's preparation for Carnival 2024. How's are things looking? Is it favorable? Have you chosen the song you want to use for Panorama? How is the membership going? Let's hear more about San City.
For the listenership out there, in no way are we trying to point any guns at any organization. The discussion is about San City, but at the same time, we are trying to evolve the dialogue along the lines of what are some of the mountains and hills that steel bands like San City have to climb in order to achieve its objectives.
Yeah, but time is the essence, and I don't want us to run out of time and not hear what is San City's program for 2024.
Akil, in terms of your development as a band, what is the vision, the short-term vision of San City in terms of, let us say, for not just the 2024 season, but let us say within the next 2 years, in terms of what are the objectives that you as a band would like to achieve, and tell us something about your preparation for the current season.
All right, so in short term, I would like us to have a steel band manufacturing company. I want to set up a pan factory. So it's a tall order. There's land space, there's equipment, there's all of these things. So I would like to see that happening. We also have some programs, DJing programs. I want out of the Panyard. I have some youths being involved in becoming DJs and so on, because I recognize that in every pan session, they always have to have a sound system and a DJ there. So instead of the outsourcing that, they can look towards San City for that service as well. Something that we are doing, and I don't start a brand, it's already San City in Flight, where we again focusing on our members and the well-being of our members. We have a lot of skillful little musicians coming out. So if you go to San City page, you would see from the pan classes that we have 2 music videos of 2 of the youths coming out of the pan classes. But that would be on steroids, where we start to deal with the persons who are skilled soloists in the pan side, where we could go to different locations and so on, highlight Trinidad and Tobago, so we could capture that tourism as well, while the panists showcasing themselves. That would do well for Trinidad, but it will also do well for the panists in terms of getting more individual gigs. So it's still about even making sure that our members are employable and things through the power of music. So those are some of the short-term goals. Long-term goal, as I said, is and it all intertwines, is making sure that the members have be well economically, socially, mentally, intellectually, all of those things. We see about the well-being of our members, and we think that once the members are in a proper place, Sun City would be in a proper place automatically, right? In terms of the season, we have been dabbling with some songs. We kind of close to nailing down a particular song, DNA, I believe is the name of the song. Them youths and them looking at that song as the song. So when we start to work on it, we get the vibes, and then we'll go through. But we haven't really put that focus into Panorama yet. We would be performing on Sunday here, Skinner Park, at the launch of Carnival. So I want to plug in that to our member, our 1 or 2 listeners that come down. The launch of San Fernando Carnival would be on Sunday. Sun City would be performing. Fun Claire would be bringing down the procession. I believe it's from Skipper Bunch coming down the road. It would have Fun Claire. It would have also a DJ happening. And then when we reach the Skinner Park, it would have Sun City. And then after Sun City, it would have a full packed program with the mass bands display their costume. We'd have Calypsonians, we'd have soca artists, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So Sunday is a big show. I'm inviting everybody to come there, come and be a part, come and listen to Sun City, right? So yeah, we have 1 or 2 other gigs coming up as well. The private things, you know, we according to you, most of the times we go to play places, we leave an impression on people, and because of that, we have a continuous request to play. Not all the time we accept the request, because not unless it come in with the proper package, we would decline. We would put it on to somebody who would be able to first or fit that package that the people offer.
So often what we've been seeing, there's a trend in terms of arrangers' approach to arranging music. We've noticed over the last few years that in the large band category, and it's no different in the other bands, medium and the small, there's a reach to go back in time and pull a song from, you know, the catalog of older music.
Right.
Do you think that there's enough steel band music out there, or music out there, that the steel bands could put their hands on, reach out to, tweak in order to present a song using the instrument of the steel band? Is there, and I'm saying that to say, are you of the view that there's a lack of choices in terms of music that is presented for the band on a year-to-year basis?
Yeah, I would say so, because last year, to me, the music, the quality of music was poor last year. I could in my mind, I could only think about like off the bat 2 songs. And I'm talking about pan songs, you know. I just talking about Bunji song and Olatunji song. I can't think Nyla Blackman song. That's just 3. So it means that everything else was so unimpressive that it didn't stand out in my mind. So I could understand why there's a need to go back. This year I tried to go back. I start a song, but I really don't feel the going back thing. That's just not my cup of tea. I want to do things that current. I want to do things that fresh. And that's just me. I like to do things that new, you know?
Let's look at things from an arranger's point of view. You arrange the music at Sun City.
Right.
When we examine some of the senior Calypsonians, the senior soca artists, the senior musicians, practitioners of the music generally, if we may put it that way, we would have had music that was tailored for, if one may say, for a steel band. The Foster would have produced music through the years. He would have performed. We would have had the same thing in the years gone by with Kitchener, who had, his catalog of music was essentially steel band music.
Pan songs. These are pan songs.
Right. Are you of the view that that party songs has now entered the arena and on a level where steel bands tend to not have to, they're not getting material that was tailor-made to be played on the pan, and now they have to improvise and introduce into their skill set music presented through the instrument that otherwise would not have been the choices, the first choices or the first love of an arranger? Is it that you found yourself now in a position where you have to take a party song and literally refashion it or arrange it in such a way that you could present it because there's a lack of choice out there?
Yeah, well, at one point in time, the pan songs in particular, in my opinion, was killing the panorama. It was killing the panorama because persons would have come to the show and not know the tunes because it was no longer popular on the radio station. The radio station was not playing the pan songs. Mm-hmm. Long time, it really didn't have a need for you to make a song that is tailored for pan because persons really used to concentrate on melody, chord progression. The musicians are long ago, when they do a calypso, they do a proper calypso. Whether the lyrics is about pan or not, it had enough body where we can have different segments and different movements. We could identify this is part one, this is part two, there's a different chord progression here, there's a different set of motifs here, and so on and so on and so on. So what has happened is as we move away from calypso into soca being the popular music, which nothing wrong with that because music is an evolving thing, nothing stays stagnant. We start, and as the music evolves into 3-chord song and 4-chord song, it then forced the arranger to be more creative because now you don't have something that is tailor-made. You don't have a tailor-made song where it is easy for you to do this and easy for you to do that. You have to now create from whatever, you know how to be the tailor. You have to take up the cloth and cut it to suit, make sure that it fits in your right, so on and so on and so on, and pour on that song and play it well.
Kitchener, the Foster, these gentlemen who produced music that essentially was for the steel pan, they were instrumentalists. They would have been able to play an instrument. The Foster would have been formally trained in terms of he can read music. Are you of the view that one's ability to read music gives you an edge in terms of arranging for a steel band? And relate that to your Sun City experience. Are you formally trained in terms of being able to read music?
Yeah, I am graduate from the University of the West Indies, right? So the question to that is yes. Does it give you an edge? Reading is not creating. Reading is recreating is not the word. But you're just reading what it has, right? So somebody would create it and then document it, and then you read it. So you now have the ability to take something somebody document and put it into reality. The only way reading would become something that is important for steel band is time management. Because if you have a steel band, a whole orchestra who can read, you can now take a sheet of paper and put it in front of them. You don't have to spend a month, 2 months trying to teach everybody one by one and individually. So in reading would help with time management for steel bands if everybody can read the music and they can execute, right? But using the programs that it has, in terms of the writing programs, it has benefits because now you can put it on your computer and listen. So instead of going to the panyard and putting it down and not sure what it would sound like, you now have the ability to hear what it would sound like at home. So when you go to the panyard, it minimizes the amount of changes that you would make when you go to the panyard. You listen at home, you're satisfied home, and then you go and you give it out to who can read, and who can read, they pass it on to whoever it is, or you may just have to call the notes based on the level of the individuals.
The music education that is available at steel band yards would be, I will, in my view, may be very well enhanced, and it will be reflected in the quality of the sound and the quality of the music and the production. If it is, we have persons more formally trained. Are you of the view that formal training and becoming musically literate is going to enhance the industry, the steel bands, and what efforts have you all made within San City to ensure that everyone becomes music literate?
Right. So as I told you before, that we have classes, right, that involves that music literacy. So your question of the importance of being literate in any sphere, whether it's engineering, whether it's whatever it is good to have all the tools so you would be able to use it. I say that, I'm still going to say that in my approach to music education, being able to read and write is not primary focus. So you have to learn to read and write, but primary focus is for me to bring you up to the ability to be financially rewarded as quickly as possible. Meaning that I trying to give you the tools so you can fish for yourself. There are very little opportunities for music readers in Trinidad, financial opportunities, right? There is only one place that I know of that you have to be able to read music to be paid in Trinidad, which is the National Steel Band, the NSO. So where the gigs are for musicians in Trinidad is being able to play a song well and being able to improvise, solo, make sure that you're performing properly, so on and so on and so on and so on. So a lot of San City's initial stage is from get-go is teaching the child how to improvise. Whether it's 1 note, 2 note, 3 note, 4 note, you can carry a melody. Okay, we have a chord progression, improvise. So on and so on and so on. As we go into, and to what I've realized is that approach is something that attracts them, because people have an innate drawn towards creating. We are built to create. So when somebody gets the opportunity to create of their own, create from themselves, all right, so you have these 3 notes, play it however you want to play it, and I would guide you accordingly. So you find with that initial attraction, they come to learn a song and they get into improvisation. They incline to want to come every week. Now, as they want to come every week, now we start to introduce the reading. All right, you need to, when you do create your stuff, you need to learn to write it down, you know. So this is what this would look like, this is what this would look like, this is what this would look like, and this is how you write it. So on and so on and so on and so on. So we take the more practical approach in terms of how can we get you on a stage, or how can we get you to be marketable as possible, as quick as possible, because there's not enough job opportunity for readers. in Trinidad. What is one of the most important things for us in terms of the reading and writing music as well? There's a lot of job opportunities for persons who are teachers, and they have to have some sort of reading and writing ability or some sort of theory ability. So it is important for, at some stage going through, that you be able to read. So when the opportunity in the Ministry of Education comes, I can say, hey, look, this thing, go and sign up because you have the qualifications and so on and so on and so on. So those are some of the focuses that we at San City take, and that's the approach that we take to have our students musically literate and musically functional as to what the market is at this point in time for the students.
Does the organization Pantry Row provide educators who point you all in the direction of educators that could assist in that music education process? So that is sourced from within the bands, or in your case within San City?
Well, the first question is not that I know of, and I'm trying to be politically correct. Not that I know of, but most steel bands take their own initiative. Right. Most steel bands, sorry, let me not say most steel bands. Some steel bands take that initiative because the majority of the steel bands don't, and they don't because they don't have the human resource. Is a band leader from long ago, and he don't have nobody who willing to come to his panyard and teach for free, and so on and so on and so on. So he have the pants, he have the, but he just don't have the resource. He don't have a support who he could tap on to say, well, listen, I have 20 youths and I want some support just to pay the tutor $300 or what. You don't have the support.
Actually, we're already stepping on people's toes. Let's not remove toes now.
Right.
Let's talk about another area. There's a growing trend where some of the bands in the north, and I can call names, Starlight Steel Orchestra, Highlander Steel Orchestra, within most recent times, they acquired property, they acquired a yard, they acquired physical infrastructure. Desperados recently did the same. They were one of the more fortunate bands. They got a well-prepared yard on the hill, and now they've been relocated to another developed property on George Street in Port of Spain. San City, you say essentially you're operating from the San Fernando City Corporation's yard. Have you all been offered a yard? Do you all have any ambitions to evolve out of that yard to acquire property of your own? Have you all established niches or connections with any organization that could assist in that regard? Has Pantrandigo assisting in that regard?
So at one point in time, the offer was made to the band to relocate to Pleasantville, right? We declined that offer, and Old Tech would have took up that offer. We want that space, that personal space, but we're not squatting. San City not squatting in a place. The place that we function in is San City Panyard, and if we are being relocated, we expect to be relocated not into a piece of land. We expect to be relocated into a panyard. So we have had discussions, continuous discussions over the years with San Fernando City Corporation, in terms of where can we go, what is earmarked for us, and yes, there are properties that under discussion and still under discussion. Mr. Rigrello was involved heavily in that, and that's continuous and that is developing. But we are, when we move out of San City space, we want to be put in a proper space. You see how Desperados get a space on the hill and then they come and get a next space? I mean, and you call bands there just now, there's a lot more bands right in that area, and nice Port of Spain. I can't think about any bands in the east or south that
benefited in the same way.
The same sort of respect now, that, hey, these people doing real good work. I mean, people could just go to San City Facebook page, just do a little research on San City and see the tremendous work that we have been doing to uplift. And I don't want to say the community, because San City, because where we are located, we have people from, and that's one of the reasons why we declined Pleasantville. We are in San Fernando, so we have people from Visabella, we have people from Green Acres, we have persons from La Romaine, we have persons from St. Madeleine, we have persons from Princestown, as far back as New Grand, we have persons from Gasparillo. So when you move us out of San Fernando, it would mean that people who travel would now have to travel to San Fernando and then travel to Pleasantville, or travel to so is the case.
Maybe you could put it in context for us. What is the mile distance, the kilometer distance between San Fernando and Pleasantville?
It is like it could be like about 5 to 10 minutes drive. It's not long, but it's a cost. And it's a cost that somebody would have to be every day. You understand? Whether it's the band or the players or whatever it is. So the heart of San Fernando is what we're looking at. And as I say, we have some things that earmarked. The discussions continuing. We have a new mayor that is receptive to the ban, right? And we have the CEO as well, and so on. Good evening to the mayor and the CEO of San Fernando City Corporation. And the discussion continues. We don't want to discontinue the relationship now. The relationship hasn't been the best relationship, but like a marriage, it doesn't be good all the time. We have been representing San Fernando City Corporation for 30 years, and we have been representing them properly.
Tell me something, Akil. Akil, in fact, I'm saying Akil. Akil, tell me, that space that the band occupies right now, should it be given to the band? There are lots of options there to improve that space, and the band can stay there. Is the discussion going anywhere in the form of developing that particular space and restructuring that space so that the band can function right there?
Well, no, there's no discussion for that space, but right over the road, right, because you have been to the band, there are big expansive space there that discussions continuously happening about that space. So we are in the same location, we just over the road.
What I notice is when I get to the some of the panyards in West Portersfield, I'm calling names. When I get to Phase 2, I recently attended an event, meaning as last Friday at Phase 2's panyard in the village. Now, I know that the first thing that may be said is that the village has a viable sponsor, but I'm just making reference. There's a benefit to having a developed space. There's a benefit to having a yard that is secured by way of perimeter fencing, having proper toilet facilities, proper drainage, proper bleachers that, the friends of the band, the community can come and sit and listen and watch, observe, enjoy the ambience that the yard presents. Are you of the view that where you are situated, that you have that sort of benefit in terms of washroom facilities, bleachers that, if people who are listening to us here now may want to come and hear San City?
And the answer to that is no. We are still in San Fernando City Corporation compound. And because of that, there's a lot of restrictions as to what can happen and what can't happen. Even to fix our toilets or whatever it is, fix something there, we still have to go through some sort of protocol, that kind of thing. We can't build anything on the space. All of these things is things because we're still on the compound. So, and hence the reason that we are agreeing that here we're going, we want to move, but we want to move under the right conditions as well. We looking forward to those benefits. To have persons come and sit down and relax, do business in our space, that kind of thing. whether I sell food or car park or all those things. It have a lot of things that we can benefit from by having our own space.
Have you all have any discussions with corporate San Fernando? What is sort of relationship do you all have? San City has with corporate San Fernando, so much so that if it is you need input investment that it's available, or is it that is a difficulty and a mountain and a hurdle to climb?
Well, it I would say it was, and it's always a challenge. We recently have a secretary, Ms. Jamilia McIntyre, and she's very she speaks the corporate language, and that's the thing. When you have persons who can speak the corporate language, things becomes a little more easier. Prior to her, it would have been me doing all the talking and so on and so on and so on. And we had some sort of success with that, but all that would come with limitations because of the amount of different things that would have been on my plate to do. Arrange, captain the band, make sure that the instrument's good. So now that San City for the past 3-4 years have more structure in terms of management structure, we now share the responsibility. So you can just concentrate on corporate, you can just concentrate on so on. San City is easily marketable because of the amount of visual content that we have, positive visual content that we have. So we do get assistance. It becomes a little difficult being the San Fernando City Corporation band as well, because persons would be of the view that San Fernando City Corporation handling stories now, which is not entirely all the way. They assist where they can, but so we have had a level of success in the last 3-4 years, and that has been growing because of our social media presence and all of the stuff that we have been doing.
What about merchandising? A lot of steel bands tend to benefit from selling T-shirts, selling
That's something that
memorabilia.
That's something that we into. We have last year T-shirt. We're still supposed to launch this year's T-shirt and so on and so on. But it's things that we gain more and more because those things is as the youths grow into young adults. It's things that are putting onto them now. All right, we send one to do little digital flyers and digital art and so on and so on. So that is the person who does come up with the images and so on and so on. We send somebody to do business. So that is the person who would say, well, all right, we need to do this, we need to do that. So more they grow and more their capacity grows as professionals, we are using the human resource that we have in San City to become more efficient.
Through the years with your music education programs, you would have produced musicians, you would have produced players. Have you been able to get assistance in terms of your players coming back to enhance the institutional machinery within the band, meaning you get players coming back to assist you as a arranger, as perhaps drill masters, input on that level in terms of sharing the ideas, because that burden to carry the band can't be on one man.
So most of the times outside of Panorama, I don't even do a song. I just tell the band that I want this song done. So that's the level they reach now. I would like for weekend, I don't think we start yet, but I tell them I want marketplace and Nadia Baxter market, and it going down. Somebody doing it. Whoever decides to do it. So during the year, I hardly do any music, unless it's something that I feel that I can't handle. But most of them at the level, as a matter of fact, you may see several names on the banner this year because I want to include them into the Panorama arrangements. Because as young as I may look, I want to pass on a lot of those things, even arranging and so on to the youths and them, let them do the thing. So I'm trying this year to incorporate some of them in the arranging, so I could eventually phase out myself.
You know, when we look at bands, my observation is sometimes when I attend the Panyards function, when bands host bands in the Port of Spain area, and I'm you know, for the listenership, I keep stressing Port of Spain because my observation is most of the bands that do the hosting tends to be the West bands, tend to be the bands in Port of Spain. I haven't seen much of that happening in the East. There are some bands from the East with big profiles, but they don't do hosting at all. It's almost as if when I listen to some bands in the West and they're performing, I can even look forward in my mind's eye to what the next song is. Let me say that in a different way. Repertoire is important as an orchestra. What lifts the profile of a band is its ability to execute different genres of music, different levels of music, different types of music. It's not just about putting a soca song on us and expressing it through the steel pan. Have you all, as an orchestra, been able to develop your players on the level where you all could function outside of the, if we may put it this way, the carnival season, and perform at various levels in terms of different types of music?
Well, you answered that question in the beginning of the interview. You came to skip a bunch Spaniard, and you see the kind of damage we do. Understand? I mean, even putting together a repertoire for what particular event, there's a science behind it, right? When they're going to drop your slow song, what song you're going to start with, all of these things. And a lot of the times for me, that happens on the spot. So a person's bugged me down for years. Aquil, why do I have a set repertoire? But I just want to hear what the last band played now. So if they play something real fiery, I just want to go down real song. So what you have to do is just have to have enough music that you can choose from whatever you want to choose from when it's time to choose, to create the mood, however you want the mood, the level of the mood. Because a lot of the times, bands don't even think about, or the leaders of bands don't even think about monotony. So Clive Bradley was one of my teachers, and he would have taught me that your senses, which is your sight, your taste, your whatever it is, once there is a constant, your senses are shut off. And then he brought this example. So you put on perfume and you would immediately smell it, right? Then a minute pass or less than a minute, you would stop smelling the perfume. But persons would come around you and still smell the perfume. What happens is that your nose sense block that scent, right? He said that all the other senses act the same way, hearing, so on and so on. So when a band playing a repertoire and they're only playing calypso and they're jamming, the song is nice, you know, and they're jamming, eventually persons start to talk to the partner beside of them because they're not varying the song, the time of the song. They're not moving from a soca to a slows to bringing somebody with a brass to feature, bringing somebody to sing to feature. So you'd find bands who have that varying time would keep the interest of the people as they move through the hour set or the 45-minute set.
No, Farid, let me interject a little bit. Aquil, you know, I come around the Panyard. I support the steel band for many reasons. So I've realized that you've concentrated a lot on young players, very young players, and you have molded them into, you know, like players that will make people's bottom jaw hit the floor, because I've seen that happen at a skiffle. I've seen that happen at the Tornadoes Panyard, where people are like shocked. For the build-up to Panorama 2024, the cadre of players that you will be including for the semi-final, preliminaries, and thereon, what the makeup of the band would look like. Because, when it comes to competition, how the band thing is in Trinidad and Tobago when it comes to competition. People expect, the band to sound like this, and you have a lot of faith, and I'm happy with that. That you have a lot of faith in the young people. Tell me about the composition of the cadre of players that you're going to be putting together for Panorama.
Well, to me, age is not the thing. Is experience, right?
Mhm.
So somebody could be 10, but he playing for 5 years already, and somebody could be 40 and playing for 1 year, right? So for this particular year of Panorama, I could afford, and I said it already in the panel, persons have to have at least 2 years of playing experience under the belt to perform this year, right? In previous years, I couldn't do that because we just take in whoever we get because we want to make up the numbers. But because of the number of people that we train, I think that I'm confident enough to have persons with at least 2 years or skillful enough based on the level of music that we'd like to do to play this Panorama. Hence the reason that a lot of bands start already, and we cool. We think we do anything. We'll do our thing, and we'll do it professionally because we have enough persons that have enough musicianship under them to cut the music to a high standard.
Nice. Well, I want to acknowledge some of the a lot of messages came in today. Surprisingly, messages like read. But I want to tell most of the messages that we have we have to come together. If it's another Tuesday, I'm gonna have to. Well, I'm sacrificing my Tuesdays now that I'm into what I call we music and we culture. That is my heart and soul, right? So I'll have to bring in executive members of Pan Trinbago, and people are asking me to get Miss Ramsey Moore to come onto the program for it. So I know I throw that straight in your lap to organize that. And outside of that, they're saying that Jamila is doing a great job and stuff like that. So a lot of people, based on what I'm seeing on this set of remarks that are coming in, are in that position of liking the band and wanting to see the band go forward, and they are appreciating the hard work that is being done to keep the band moving along. So I too want to wish the band all the best, and I hope that you guys can come up to spec to reach at least the finals this year. I am looking forward to that. I know you guys can do it. I know you have a bunch of talented youths, and like you said, the playing experience is what will take you there. So I want to wish you all the best, and I want to thank all the people who were messaging me here all throughout the program. But some of those questions, we have to develop a special program for that. I don't want to throw that in your lap, Aquil.
Well, I try to stay away from it as much as possible, but I mean, and I real that I have to answer how it is, and welcome.
I also would like to have you and Mr. The guy from Fontclair, even
Darren Shepherd,
Mr. Regrello, the leaders. I would like to hear their perspective of South Central Pan problems, because like Farid said, because we meet all the time in all these Spaniards that have these functions across the east, the northwest, north to west, right? But we don't see it happening in South, and we would like to develop a program where we can talk about that. We won't be talking about San City, we won't be talking about Fontclair, but we were talking about what affects the leadership of these steel bands in the South Central region, because I too feel it for them too. Things are very different for them as compared to North. Even the East are probably in the same position like Southwest. So formalize a program that we'll invite you again, and Farid and I will have another chat like that.
Akil, thanks so much for making yourself available to us. It was a fruitful discussion. We look forward to another occasion with you, and thank you for your frank views. To the listening public, we'll try to arrange to have membership from the Pan Trinbago executive address us, and perhaps we can carry a conversation as to their plans for the 12 acres of land that they have in Trin City and at the headquarters that we're looking forward to the building and developing. Thanks again, Akil. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
It's
Have
been
a
a pleasure.
nice one.
It's been a pleasure.
Blessings to the public. Be
Yes,
safe,
thank you
David.
so much, Farid. And tomorrow, Farid will be back with us with his version of Hard Talk, Paul Wanted to Digital. Thank you again, gentlemen.